blood, this is for the tears, this is for my pain and my plight. Two walked in, but only one of us is walking out of here tonight. I'm a survivor. I fight for my life. Come on, get stronger. I will arise. I'm a survivor. I fight for my life. Come on, get stronger. I will arise.
What is up, people? This is Variety Bites. I am Sean Williams, and this is going to be the last show for 2018. Taking a break for the holidays, and we'll be back in 2019. So, without further ado, let's get to the topics I got for the night, and I'm going to start it off with the NFL. So, last week we saw the Steelers end their losing streak, defeating the Patriots. And what stands out the most with that loss for the Patriots is that this is the first time in 16 years the Patriots have lost back-to-back games in December. This is also the first time that the Patriots have had with their record presently at 9-5. This is the first time that the Patriots have had 5 losses or more since 2009. And also, this is the third time this season that the Patriots offense has been kept at 10 points or less. So right now, all I can say is Rob Gronkowski does not look right. Tom Brady is definitely not looking as effective as he has in the past. And so right now, the season may not be over, but the Patriots are going to have to start to embrace the idea of a future without Tom Brady. Now, as far as the Steelers go, they needed that win. They most definitely needed that win. I mean, they were on a 3-game losing streak, and right now the top 2 teams in the AFC are looking to be San Diego and Kansas City. Elsewhere, and speaking of losing streaks, the Rams are also on a 2-game losing streak, which is not looking good for them right now. And let me be clear. They're in the playoffs. Nothing's changing that. The only issue, however, is their chances of getting home field are looking pretty bleak right now. Because presently, as it stands, the Saints, although they've looked like they've struggled a little bit too, the Saints are right now the best team in the NFC and are practically so close to home field advantage throughout the playoffs they could taste it. Which, considering how the Saints have played this season, that's scary for anyone in the NFC because the Saints have looked nothing short of unstoppable at home. Elsewhere, last week, Dallas this weekend definitely needs to bounce back after that 23-0 butt whipping that they took from the Colts. Luck not only ran out for the Cowboys that game, in this particular case, this kind of luck, namely Andrew Luck, and the Colts ran them over. I mean, it was, and set aside the offense on the Colts, it was the defense that neutralized Dak Prescott, Zeke, and Amari Cooper. That Dallas just had no answer. And if this was any other time during the regular season and it was a close game, nobody would be talking about it. However, this was a game where Dallas could have clinched. They could have clinched this and no problem for them. But now, thanks to them losing, now they're in a situation where the Eagles, who've been struggling all year, could actually win the division, or at the bare minimum, actually or at the bare minimum, at least get the wild card. And right now, it's not looking too good for the Dallas Cowboys, if they lose again. However, if the Eagles, while they're still in the hunt, they are not out of this just yet. If they lose again tomorrow, they're out. They're in a situation where it's do or die right now, because the Redskins lost today to the Titans, and they're out. And at some point, the Eagles, well, considering the injury for Carson Wentz, it doesn't look like he'll be coming back anytime soon, but whether they like it or not, it looks like the Eagles are going to have to face facts that for the time being, Nick Foles is their guy. And reportedly, Eli Manning has signed a 4-year extension with the Giants. What are the Giants thinking? Have they seen how bad Eli has done this season? Have they seen how bad he's done the last couple of years? Look, I got nothing against Eli. It's just that right now, he does not... If the Giants have any kind of championship future, it's not with Eli Manning. And right now, look, I get it. They don't have anybody else. They don't have another QB. But are you really going to tell me that's going to take you 4 years to get somebody in the draft and prep him up to take over when Eli walks away? I just don't know what the Giants are thinking. And $84 million for him? That's a lot of money to be spending on him for that, when there's so much more you could be doing to try and improve that team. Next topic. We're going to the movies. I did see both Bumblebee and Aquaman. And let me just say that Aquaman was fantastic. I had been saying for Aquaman that for Jason Momoa, he never got the chance to truly shine as that character in Justice League. And he proved me right, because he truly shined in this one. Amber Heard knocked it out of the park as Mera. I gotta say, Dolph Lundgren has had a pretty busy year this year, with Creed 2 and now this, playing Mera's father. But also you had Patrick Wilson, who I've always been a fan of ever since Watchmen as Night Owl. And also Willem Dafoe, who is just good at everything. And Nicole Kidman, of course, playing the mother of Aquaman. The visuals and the effects were just insane, including the underwater battles. And it's one time where I'm curious to see the movie again in 3D, just to see how the effects look. And as far as Bumblebee goes, do I want to see another Transformers movie? Only if this guy that directed it, or somebody that's just as good as him, does it, and they keep Michael Bay the heck away from it. Because this movie was just outstanding. A lot of action, a lot of humor. And a lot of heart to it. And I'll admit, there are a lot of parts that kind of made me tear up watching it. Also, because it was set in the 80s, and the song Don't You Forget About Me from Simple Mind that was used in The Breakfast Club, I've had that song stuck in my head all day. So thank you for that. And Haley Steinfeld's always been a great actress, and I was pleased by this. And I gotta say, for John Cena, him and The Rock may be the rare breed of pro wrestlers who've tried to act but can actually do it. And of course, you also, for the family viewing, you had, which I haven't seen it, but Mary Poppins Returns also premiered this week. Now, here's the thing about the box office this weekend, is that movie had a little bit of an advantage because it was released on Wednesday, while Aquaman and Bumblebee weren't released until this this past Friday. And I read an article that said that Bumblebee is looking to have the worst opening of any of the Transformer movies. You released it on the same weekend as two other blockbusters, namely Mary Poppins Returns and Aquaman. And why didn't you release it 2 weeks earlier? You would have had better business then. Hell, I would have liked to have seen that more than I would have liked to have seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Critics are still raving about Bumblebee, but I'm worried that even though it's one of the best Transformers movies that we've gotten since probably the first one, that unfortunately it's not going to be the box office hit that we wish it would be. And speaking of movies not doing well, so reportedly the movie Mortal Engines is set to be a $100 million loss for Universal. And I caught part of the HBO first look at that movie. What the hell were they thinking? So we're getting a lot of back and forth stuff with the DC Universe regarding their movies, which Jason Momoa says that Henry Cavill is not done as Superman. And first we hear that Amy Adams is done as Lois Lane, but now maybe she isn't. Who can tell at this point? But one thing I'll say back to Aquaman without giving any kind of spoilers, it's very much a standalone movie, so it's not going to be anything. If you're expecting something to set up for another Justice League movie, you're not going to get it with this movie. But it is definitely, the effects are great. Black Manta looked awesome. Patrick Wilson looked really cool as Ocean Master. And it wasn't a completely dark superhero movie, but you don't need it to be. You didn't need this one to be. And I think if they maintain the elements with this, much like they... Or let me rephrase that. If they make Shazam much like this, then I think Shazam will do just as well, too. And with that being said, I'm going to take a quick break. We'll be right back right after this, so people don't go anywhere.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Brian H. Waters, host of The Wrestling Realm, and you are getting the raw, unfiltered opinion of Sean Williams. Now back to Variety Bites.
Big thank you to Brian H. Waters. Make sure you check out his show Break It Down with Brian H. on Podbean, iTunes, SoundCloud, I believe it's on Spotify, and of course The Wrestling Realm on YouTube. He's always been a good friend of mine and also been a good supporter of this show. And make sure you guys check out his stuff. Alright, so back to what we were talking about before the break. So, like I said, this show is going to be the last show that I do for this year until 2019. So I also wanted to take a look back at some of the movies this year and what I deemed as the best one that I saw this year. And you know what? It's got to go down to Avengers Infinity War. I mean, the movie was just well done, the action, the plot. And to me, when you have a movie where it's so quiet you can hear a pin drop, I consider that a masterpiece. Plus, and spoiler alert, and if you haven't seen it yet, then I apologize, but how often do you see a superhero movie where the bad guy actually won? And Josh Brolin may have set a record as all-time favorite superhero villain, because his portrayal of Thanos, he just really takes it to a whole new level. So, that's the one I like the most. Let me tell you the one that I like the least. And if you thought I was going to say Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, not quite. I didn't hate it that much. The one that I would say was the most disappointing to me was Pacific Rim Uprising. And why is that so surprising? Well, for one thing, I liked the first Pacific Rim movie. But this one, it was predictable. There was not enough action. Once again, not enough action with the Jaegers and the kaiju or monsters, whatever. I'm just going to call them monsters. I want to risk mispronouncing it. But we didn't get enough action with that. Charlie Day as the villain is horrible. I'm sorry. Look, when he's got the high-pitched voice going on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and other movies that he does, it's funny. But when he's trying to be this sinister presence with that voice, it's just painful. And as far as movies I'm looking forward to in 2019, you know what? There's quite a few of them, but Avengers Endgame is probably standing at the top on that one. I want to see how this whole thing unfolds. I mean, this whole thing with the Marvel movies has been 10 years in the making, and I'm anxious to see how it all pans out. And of course, it couldn't go without looking at Captain Marvel and Shazam, which one I'm looking forward to the most. You know, the one thing these movies have in common is I know absolutely very little about either one. I don't know a whole lot about Captain Marvel, and I don't know a whole lot about Shazam. But I'm looking forward to both, but, you know, just because of, well, the last time we got a female or superhero movie with a female lead, it was Wonder Woman. And I'm curious to see how Brie Larson does as this character. Plus, how it's introducing the Kree. Well, the Kree has already been kind of introduced, but having the Kree and the Skrull in this movie might make things interesting. But on the other hand, Shazam's also going on the humorous and lighthearted side, and that may actually be the benefit. But if I had to pick between the two, I gotta go with Captain Marvel. Just because of what Marvel has put together for their cinematic universe. And Shazam, while it looks good, DC is still trying to find itself in what they want it to be. And also, one other thing I forgot to mention for the NFL. Reportedly, it looks like John Harbaugh's not going anywhere, at least through 2019. That the Ravens are retaining him for one more year. But Joe Flacco may be done. He may be out. I don't know if he's done completely or if he's just done with the Ravens, but it doesn't look like he'll be returning to the Baltimore Ravens anytime soon. But, you know, they're doing good with Jackson right now, so at this point, they gotta go with it. You gotta go with what makes this team good. And it pains me to say this, because as a Steeler fan, I'm definitely not a Baltimore Ravens fan. Alright, and going into the rest of the entertainment news. Random thought on the night. Marvel ought to focus on making a spin-off of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. No, I'm not talking about that Most Wanted series that we almost got with Bobby Morse and Vance Hunter. And I'm hoping I got his first name right. It's been a while since I saw that character. But having a spin-off with Bobby and Hunter, which they tried twice, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about they should make a spin-off of the version of Ghost Rider that they introduced in Season 4, which was the only good thing about Season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Anyway, that's my random thought. Oh yeah, and also, can Netflix premiere Season 4 of Lucifer already? They already got the previous 3 seasons up on Netflix. Will they just get that going? And fine, and yeah, I know I keep throwing them out, but Well, this is the last one because the other is more of a topic, but the CW needs to make a Superman series and a Batwoman series happen, and happen soon. Look, like I said last episode, Tyler Hoechlin knocked it out of the park as Superman. And Bitsy Tulloch is a great Lois Lane. And Ruby Rose shut up all of the doubters and the haters by actually delivering as Kate Kane. And the interaction between her and Supergirl made me want to see more. So, if the CW really wants to make that happen, do it. Alright, now, some news. Unfortunately, this week we had to say goodbye to a legend, as Penny Marshall passed away at the age of 75 and reportedly it was due to complications from diabetes. I didn't even know she was sick. But, I mean, she's directed so many movies, and, I mean, Big and A League of Their Own, of course, were two that come to mind. She's also directed some other ones, like Riding in Cars with Boys and Renaissance Man, which, I mean, I heard that those two weren't successful, but in all honesty, I enjoyed Renaissance Man. Given I don't think it would have been as good if you'd gotten anyone else other than Danny DeVito for the lead, but I enjoyed it. And of course, can't forget Laverne and Shirley, because just the physical comedy stuff between with her and Cindy Williams on that show was just incredible. And for those that are fans of the show Elementary, with Johnny Lee Miller and Lucy Liu as Sherlock Holmes and Watson, different take on it. It's set to end after its 7th season. And, I know that there are going to be fans that are sad about that, but in all honesty, 7 seasons is no slouch. So, at least it got that. It had a good run. We got a couple shows that are set to debut in a couple weeks. Well, 2 shows, and 1 show is supposed to premiere next year in its final season. iZombie is set to premiere its final season next year. Gotham is going to premiere its final season in 2 weeks. And of course have The Orville set in 2 weeks to premiere. I gotta say, I've said this, that I've fallen off the wagon that's a bad choice of words, but I've fallen off of Family Guy just because I don't feel like I've gotten anything new from it. But I really do enjoy The Orville. And I've said this, I can't help but feel like Seth MacFarlane seemed to have fun on that show. Like, this is the show he's always wanted to do, and I believe he said that in interviews, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the 2nd season of this show. And as far as Gotham, from what I've seen with it, I'm still not a fan of their version of Bane. I'm anxious to see Bruce Wayne on that show become the Dark Knight. And it even has the tagline, Legend of the Dark Knight, which that we will see Bruce Wayne become what he's born to be. So, one thing I think I mentioned Netflix because of about Lucifer. Wanted to see that premiere. Well, one thing you could probably expect Netflix to start cleaning house of anything Disney related, whether it's Marvel or just Disney itself. Because with Disney Plus set to debut next year, don't expect Netflix to be holding on to too much Disney stuff. And reportedly, even if there was a chance to see Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and the characters from the Netflix shows on Disney Plus, it may not be able to happen for another year or two. Because from what I understand, I thought I read a report that that's not going to happen until after 2020, where they can legally be used. And of course, the one drawback on the holidays is that all the shows are on winter hiatus, so you have to wait till like mid-January before any of the shows return from that. And I've heard some people, I've read random thoughts about the show Legacies, and even saw an article on TV.com where they were talking about Nina Dobrev of the Vampire Diaries and soon to be on her sitcom Fam, saying that we won't see Elena Gilbert on that show on Legacies, but she's glad that that people are watching it. Let me set the record straight, because we've heard this also when people were asking, will we see Stefan Salvatore on Legacies at some point in some fashion. We do not need to see Stefan or Damon Salvatore or Elena Gilbert. We don't. Legacies is its own story. We don't need to look. I'm not saying not to ever have it, but we don't need it in the first season. The show is still finding its own identity, and frankly, I think it's working. So, just leave it be. So, of course, with what gonna wrap it up in a little bit, but there's, of course, with the holidays, everybody's got their own Christmas movies that they watch. A couple I've mentioned off the top, that I mentioned before. Of course, Christmas Vacation is the ultimate one for me, and also Scrooged with Bill Murray. But there's other ones that I feel like should get some kind of mention. Elf is one. The Nightmare Before Christmas. I don't know if it really falls. Well, maybe it does because of the setting, but The Family Stone, I actually enjoyed that one. I mean, the casting alone was superb in that one. But also I enjoyed The Muppet Christmas Carol. I mean, what can I say? Grew up on the Muppets, and you had Michael Caine as Ebenezer Scrooge. You can't beat that. And let me say this about Die Hard and Batman Returns. I don't think they were never made to be Christmas movies. I think people just found a way to somehow make them one. And again, because I think of the setting, it counts. But those are some recommendations. Of course, one thing I can think of that, because I was showing it on HBO, was the movie Surviving Christmas. I remembered watching the trailers for that and thinking, this looks terrible. I mean, all I could think with Ben Affleck, Catherine O'Hara, and James Gandolfini. What were they thinking? Then again, I'm guessing that it's not so much that they read the script, they read the paycheck. But, and, you know what? The other one that I think is kind of traditional for me is It's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And no, I'm not talking about the new one in the theaters right now, and I'm not talking about that one they did with Jim Carrey. I'm talking about the old animated one with Boris Karloff. That, to me, is always going to be a classic. And it's kind of traditions for me. So, looking forward to watching those movies, and hope you guys watch the ones that you like. So, as I wrap up this show for the year, and I'll be back in 2019. I'm not going to get political in this because frankly, I hate getting that way in the holiday times. I'm just going to say this. Some words of wisdom. Try to remember what it means to be compassionate, to be kind to other people, to treat others with love and respect, and just show a little kindness. And if you think a little kindness doesn't make any difference, just remember, it makes all the difference in the world. Because I still believe in things like kindness and compassion, and I think for all of you that are listening, somewhere, you all still believe in that too. Find it again. Find it again and embrace it. Because to always show kindness and compassion, love and respect to people, it's the greatest power anybody can ever have and ever will have. And with that being said, I'm going to wrap things up for tonight. I want to thank you guys for listening. Make sure you check me out on iTunes and on Podbean, and of course on YouTube. My Facebook group is Variety Bites, and of course for my other show, The Shark Attack. I want to wish you guys all the best. Just have a great Christmas and an even more wonderful New Year, and I will see you guys in 2019. This has been Variety Bites. I am Sean Williams, and I'm out of here.